Hi, and welcome to this episode of Soul Seeds, where my guest expert for today is Shelby. And Shelby is an intimacy coach and healer. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to discern fear from intuition and how this relates to the nervous system. So I really love this topic. So let's dive right in. I would love to know, how can we know when it's our ego talking versus when it's our intuition talking?
Well, okay. So the way that I feel like ego comes up is it's very loud and obnoxious, and
Mm,
it's stuff we just can't get it out of our head.
mm,
Um, versus intuition is a lot softer.
mm,
And I find it comes with clarity, but it's very gentle, and sometimes it doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it
mm,
does, sometimes it doesn't. But if you recognize the sensations that are happening in your body, the intuitive voice will also come with a body that's very grounded and feels secure, safe,
mm.
not anxious at all. The ego usually comes with a more dysregulated state. So you
Mhm.
might feel more anxious, you might feel a little bit more hyped up, um, defensive, closed off, again, anxious. Any of those things might be happening when it's ego.
Mm. And is ego like always like a negative voice, or is that not the case?
No, I don't think it's a negative thing. It's just like I kind of attach ego with more of what your learned defense mechanisms are.
Hmm.
So it's like your ego is there to protect you ultimately. So it's
Hmm.
not bad. It's just like it's your guardian. But it's like this big brute that comes in, and then the intuitive voice is kind of like that softer, more gentler thing. They can stand up for themselves too, but in a completely different way. It's a much more compassionate
Mm.
voice that comes through.
Yeah, because the ego tends, like you said, to be quite loud and sometimes overbearing, and we tend to see it as
Yeah.
quite an annoying voice, right? Like, oh, it's my ego talking again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think that's one of the things with it too, is sometimes we can be really like kind of judgmental over what our ego looks like. But if we start
Mhm.
to look at it with some compassion and say, it's just trying to protect us,
Right.
thank you for trying to protect us. But I really, if we can, I'd really love to hear what intuition says, or I'd love to like, what is it that we need in order to be able to get to intuition? How can we feel safer in this moment?
Hmm.
Then ego can feel heard, and then you can, like, I've done intuition sessions too, where I actually will talk to people about how um you can like hear one versus the other. We'll just talk about stuff and be like, did you recognize that was ego coming through versus intuition? And it's very interesting because I feel like you can really hear the difference
Hmm.
as you're experiencing it, and as like someone that's listening to it, you'll know, because the voice will, like, you'll start to talk faster, or you'll start to feel kind of activated,
Hmm.
versus something that sounds or feels very true in the body, like just hits different.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
because you mentioned, of course, it's related to the nervous system. And can
Hmm.
you explain that a bit more?
Yeah. So I find that the intuition comes through when you're feeling very regulated, grounded, and
Hmm.
secure. I don't think intuition is able to come out at any other point in time. I think that when it's more ego, when we are in our dysregulated protective mechanism. So we are in that fight, flight, fawn, freeze mode, any of those.
Mm.
That is more so ego. So it doesn't have to be on a like huge level, but there might be a certain level of dysregulation where ego kind of is more so like, okay, I'm here. I need to, like, nervous system saying that we're not regulated. Something's feeling not safe here. So I need to be here. I need to protect.
Mm. You mentioned like fear of flight freeze and fawn or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's new to me.
Oh, fawn. So fawn is like people pleasing.
Oh,
So
okay.
the way for me to get out of this is to placate and people please, and um, settle the situation down the best I can so that I eventually can leave and get out of this.
Okay. Okay, that's a new one to me.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
okay, that's good to know. And how do we connect more to that safe, regulated part of ourselves where we can let our intuition speak?
Mhm. Well, so we have to, again, this kind of goes with like all my other coaching stuff. So we have to learn more about ourselves. Like, what is it that are, um, what are the wounds that we may have, these core wounds that, and like, what stories do we constantly tell ourselves that aren't actually, um, they're serving us in a certain way, but they're not serving us in a way that maybe is necessary anymore. Because a
Mm.
lot of the times that the stories we have in our head are, again, protection, mechanism type stories from the past.
Mm-hmm.
But now we don't need them
Mm-hmm.
because we've moved past whatever that is. So anyway, but so there can be these stories that we have in our heads, which we just need to recognize and then see them with compassion and say, like, this story of I'm not good enough, like, is it, is that actually true?
Mm-hmm.
And then why might it not be? And start to question it a little bit more. So a lot of the times it's just like we're so used to being stuck in this negative spiral pitfall of a story that we don't actually think that there are other options. So if we're able to start to use a tool of, okay, wait, like, stop. I recognize I'm in this spiral. Let's at least try to stop it. And can I ask myself a different question, a better question?
Mm-hmm.
And start with that, because if we can get our brain into a different mode of thinking, um, and it's like a pattern interrupt, I guess, then we
Right.
can kind of start to get ourselves back into a regulated state. But
Mm-hmm.
you can stay heady with that. You could start to journal about it, or you can say, okay, I need to stop and I need to, like, hand on heart, hand on belly, sit with myself and maybe tap into like an inner child instead, and say, like, what's coming through right now? What age of me is coming through right now that feels like they're not safe? What's going on? And
Mm-hmm.
what can I give them? And
Right.
there might be different options of things that will work for different people. I really like being able to tap into my inner child because I find it's very effective for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that usually cuts it like right down to the root cause. It's like, well, here we are. Show me what we need to do here, and I feel better afterwards.
Mm. And it's also about just really taking the time to allow yourself to, when you ask yourself a question, or okay, what do I need right now, to
Mhm.
give yourself time and the patience to wait for the answer, because it doesn't always come right away, right?
And you might find that your brain will still go into the stories.
Mm.
And I think the thing with being able to see like the inner child, or looking at any child, even like, it's kind of like, if they're feeling scared and they're running away with their thoughts, like,
Mm.
why, and you're going to come at it from a much more compassionate place, which is what is helpful, because it's kind of like, okay, I've been judging myself. I need to find compassion for myself instead. How can I do that? What do I need? What does this child need? And
Mm.
then again, like, because it's not like us in this moment that we're looking at, it's a different type of being, a
Mm.
younger version, or again, you can just use like a child in general. Um, it allows us to step away from what's bothering us a little bit. So it gives
Mm.
us that space to find that compassion that we might not have access to otherwise.
Mm. Yeah, because why is it so difficult for a lot of us to find that compassion towards the one person that we spent all of our lives with?
It's it's just what we've learned. It's just what we've grown up with, how people have treated us, what we think is the normal, what is again, our protection mechanisms that have helped us to survive. It's kind of like all of that stuff that's rolling into one.
Mm.
Um, yeah, which again, it doesn't help. Like, it's very it's very stressful in the long run, but
Mm.
at one point in time, it did help us.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I see a lot, like especially in the spiritual community, that you hear, especially for with meditation practices, to quiet the mind and
Mhm.
don't listen to the ego.
Mhm.
And is it important to actually shut that ego out, or like you said, should we be more compassionate to it? What is the right balance here?
Well, I mean, good luck. Good luck in trying to do it, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, this is the thing. It's there for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
which I've kind of like expressed already in all of this. It's there for a reason. It's there for our protection. And I like acknowledging that it exists and not trying, like, pushing it away doesn't really help. If you keep trying to push the problem away, it's never actually going to resolve. It's never going to get better. There's never going to be any repair for it. And that's kind of like the same thing. Like, you're pushing the ego into the corner, someone, like, it's going to come busting out at some
Mm-hmm.
point in time. So it's like finding a partnership that works is more
Mm-hmm.
so, I feel like, what you want to do. Like, yes, I recognize it's happening. I'm in a spiral right now. Can we maybe have a break from that? I
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I recognize you're here, and um, you can come back. I just would like a little bit of a break right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You communicating with the ego, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And that's the way of acknowledging, like you said, that it's there.
Mhm.
And that okay, you're here to keep me safe. but I don't need you around all the time, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'd like to find some peace, and I just don't feel like you're helping with that right now. I recognize you're trying to protect me, but I'd really like to just not feel so anxious, and that's kind of happening right now. So can we maybe try something different? Are you open to trying something different?
Oh, I like that question. Are you open to something different?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like having and really listening, because that's the thing. This is about like learning how to have those conversations with ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, at this present time or with our past selves and what is it that's actually going on? What is it that we need? Can we like sometimes we just need to have the whole story run through our minds. Like, okay, well, you know what? Freedom to proceed, carry on. What's the worst case scenario of everything? Let's just
Hmm.
go down the whole rabbit hole, do it. Let's go. I'm in for it. And
Hmm.
then and then it might like it'll be okay. So we'll get to the
Yeah.
basis of it. And it's like, what am I most scared of? And it's like, well, it's either I'm going to die or I'm going to be left alone, usually is kind of what the the end
What the
result usually
scariest
is.
ones are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's usually where it ends up getting to. And it's like, or I'm going to be on I'm going to be homeless or I'm going to be unsafe or something. But it
Hmm.
basically comes down to like these core things that we really need, basically.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
is that like that ego? Is it the same as like overthinking, or is that totally
Yeah.
different?
Yeah. No, I think it is. I think he goes with that overthinking side of things.
Hmm. Hmm. So
Yeah.
just we're constantly busy, of course. So what
Mhm.
would you say is like the best tool or technique that you can find that quiet? Is it meditation, or is there another
Y-
way?
Yeah, it can be meditation, but I like to define meditation as anything that helps you get present versus sitting there and just
Right.
trying to be quiet. So
Hmm.
for me, I find that meditation can be it can be dance because I feel very present in my body when I'm doing that. It can be something artistic, like some other thing that's artistic. Dance is artistic, but something crafty for me can be that too. So if I'm fully focused on like I did a painting class the other day and I was like, I really couldn't focus on anything else. I
Right.
was very present in the moment. So something like that could be meditation for you as well. It can be just sitting there and, getting into your body and trying to ground and chill out and visualize these things that work for you. Um, it could be writing and journaling. It can be, it's really up to the person. You'll
Hmm.
recognize the things that make you feel good. Like when you really start to think about it, you'll realize that you probably actually have the tools already. You just didn't acknowledge it in
Mm.
yourself. Because I would also find myself going and walking a lot when I felt dysregulated because I just couldn't sit still. Like I need to go do something. And then I'd go and I would do something. I would go walk or I'd go work out or I'd go like sprint or do push-ups until I cried and got the release that I needed. And like something would, you'll have, you'll do something.
Yeah, like you said, you have the tools. You just have to know how to access them and listen to your
Mhm.
body, because, like you always say, your body sends us the messages and it knows what we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then also, I think I just want to acknowledge too that sometimes we lean towards things that aren't healthy for us. So I always try to say, like, more so lean into um, some sort of like body based practice and movement
Mm.
versus something that would be like numbing. So
Mm.
something like, um, drinking or snack. Like if you know that you're a snacker,
Right.
when you start to not feel super good, then try not to do that and do something else instead.
Hmm.
Um, or you start to binge watch TV because you're really not feeling good, or you need emotional connection, but you
Hmm.
don't feel you have access to it. Like whatever it is, just try to recognize some of the things that maybe aren't so great, and then some of the things that might be better, or that you already do, and see if you can kind of shift the ratio of it and try to lean more
Mm.
into the things that are better for you versus the things that may not be serving as much.
Yeah, it all
Mhm.
comes with awareness, right?
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Shelby. Thank you.
yeah, no problem.